you can see here, remember she missed 4 games and the Commissioner's Cup final recently with a groin injury, and she just pulled up limping a little bit on this play. And this is so tough to watch.
Just moments ago, the unthinkable happened. Caitlin Clark, the face of the Indiana Fever and a beacon of hope for women's basketball, was seen breaking down in tears after suddenly exiting the court. Fans watched in stunned silence as she clutched her side, clearly in pain, triggering fears of a re-injury that could sideline her once again. This wasn't just a physical setback. It was an emotional collapse that shook the arena. So, what really happened in those final seconds? And why are fans still struggling to process it? Let's dive in. Caitlin Clark breaks down again. Caitlin Clark was barely holding it together. Her face said it all, red with emotion, a towel draped over her head, trying to hide the tears welling up in her eyes. Fans at the TD Garden watched in silence as the Indiana Fever's brightest star walked off the court in clear discomfort. This wasn't just another substitution. It was a moment filled with tension and fear, both for Clark and everyone watching her struggle. The groin injury came out of nowhere. Again. It happened late in the Fever's hard-fought 85-77 victory over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. There was no fall, no collision, no dramatic tumble. Clark was doing what she always does, moving the ball, setting up her teammates. After a clean bounce pass to Kelsey Mitchell, who went on to score, Clark instinctively reached for her lower torso, a look of pain flashing across her face. Then came the slow, careful walk off the court. No limp, just careful, controlled steps, like someone who knows their body all too well and understands the danger signs. This isn't Clark's first run-in with injury this season, but it might be the most emotionally draining. Less than a month ago, on June 24th, she had injured the same area, her groin, during a game against the Seattle Storm. That injury had already cost her 5 missed games, including a highly anticipated face-off in Dallas with rising star Paige Buchers. Fans had bought tickets in advance. The hype had been massive. And yet Caitlin didn't play. To make matters worse, that injury wasn't even her first of the season. Back in May, during a close match against the New York Liberty, she suffered a left quad strain that also sidelined her for 5 games. At this point, the stop-start rhythm of her season has been nearly unbearable. For someone like Clark, who built her college and rookie seasons on consistency, grit, and dominance, these unpredictable pauses have created more than just physical hurdles. They've started to chip away at her mental edge. Head coach Stephanie White tried to remain optimistic after the Connecticut game. She told reporters that Caitlin had felt a little something in her groin again, and that the team would wait for a full evaluation. But there was no hiding the concern in her voice, no sugarcoating the reality of what this setback could mean, especially with the WNBA All-Star game just around the corner, scheduled to be held at Clark's home venue in Indianapolis. The moment Clark sat on the bench, towel over her head, was painfully symbolic. Not just a player needing a break, but a rising icon burdened by expectations, pain, and the crushing weight of possibly letting down her team, her fans, and herself. Teammate Aaliyah Boston tried to comfort her, but it was clear. Caitlin was in her own world of worry. Her recent comments shed even more light on the toll these injuries have taken. "It's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you," she confessed last week. "It's difficult preparing for games when you already know you won't be playing in them." She didn't just sound frustrated. She sounded emotionally exhausted. "It's really hard to stop and go, especially when you're not feeling your best," she added. Clark's words offer a rare peek behind the curtain, a look at how even the most confident athletes can feel lost when their own body becomes the enemy. She's used to battling defenders, not groin strains and quad issues. And as she continues this unpredictable dance between recovery and relapse, the question hanging over everyone's head becomes more haunting. Will Caitlin Clark ever get the uninterrupted run she deserves? Because beyond the game day headlines and medical updates lies something much deeper, Just how far-reaching are they? What could this mean for her long-term legacy? Stay tuned. The emotional toll of Caitlin Clark's setback. Caitlin Clark's tears on the bench told a story no stats sheet could explain. This wasn't just a physical setback. It was a raw, emotional unraveling in real time. As fans held their breath, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Their beloved star was hurting, not just in body, but in spirit. This latest groin re-injury didn't just affect Clark's gameplay. It pierced through the collective heart of the WNBA community. The moment played out like a silent movie with one loud emotion: heartbreak. With just seconds left on the clock and the Fever finally holding on to a tough-earned victory, Clark's face crumbled. She limped off the court, leaned her head against the basket stanchion, and tried to hide her face behind a towel. But even from behind the fabric, her body language revealed the weight of the pain. She wasn't just reacting to the groin tweak. She was mourning something bigger, the creeping sense that her dream season might be slipping away, one flare-up at a time. Fans were speechless, stunned into silence across social media. The woman they'd watched dominate college courts and rise to superstardom now sat vulnerable and shaken. One user wrote, "I've never seen Caitlin like this. She always looked unbreakable." Another added, "Seeing her in tears makes us all feel it. We've followed her journey, and now we're crying with her." For many, this wasn't just about basketball. It was about what she symbolized: grit, hope, and a new era of the WNBA. But this injury came with added sting. Caitlin had been gearing up for All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, her hometown. The chance to perform in front of family, lifelong friends, and fans who supported her since her high school days was more than just a milestone. It was supposed to be a celebration. Now, instead of suiting up for the three-point contest and the All-Star game, she's stepping back, forced to prioritize healing over highlight reels. And fans aren't the only ones feeling the emotional weight. The Indiana Fever's locker room reportedly fell silent after the game. Teammates knew what this meant, not just for the team's season, but for Clark's mental well-being. It's hard enough being a rookie in a professional league, but to carry the expectations of a franchise, the league's marketing campaigns, and millions of loyal fans, all while battling injury, is a storm few athletes can weather without bruises to both body and soul. Her coach, Stephanie White, was quick to affirm that the team would take every precaution with her recovery. But even that assurance couldn't mask the undercurrent of concern. This is the second groin-related issue in just a few weeks, and everyone, from trainers to commentators, is beginning to ask, is her body already breaking down from the pressure of constant spotlight and non-stop play? The league is also watching. Caitlin Clark is not just a player. She's the player right now. She's moved the needle on ticket sales, ratings, sponsorships, and general attention to the sport. For a league finally breaking through cultural barriers and mainstream noise, her health isn't just a team issue. It's a WNBA issue. Her absence from major events like the All-Star Game could echo far beyond just one weekend. And in the middle of it all, Clark herself is left trying to balance ambition with reality. How do you push forward when your body starts whispering, "Slow down"? How do you carry a league's momentum while facing the terrifying thought that your own body might not keep up? Her tears weren't a sign of weakness. They were a powerful reminder that behind every icon is a human being. A woman trying to live her dream while managing pain, expectation, and the unrelenting pressure of being the future. But here's the twist. This moment of heartbreak stands in sharp contrast to how things began. Because back then, Caitlin Clark wasn't known for being fragile. So, what exactly has Caitlin been enduring in silence? And how deep does the struggle really go? Stay with us as we dive into her season injury timeline. Caitlin Clark's silent battle before the tears. From the outside, Caitlin Clark seemed invincible. The girl who broke records at Iowa and lit up the court in her WNBA rookie season carried a kind of fearless energy. But as the 2025 WNBA season unfolded, the reality of professional-level strain began catching up with her. Behind the cameras, away from the highlight reels and standing ovations, Clark's body was quietly sounding alarms. The same legs that once danced up and down the court with unmatched confidence were starting to falter. It all began innocently enough. In early May, during preseason warm-ups, Clark sat out Indiana Fever's first exhibition game. The reason? Tightness in her lower left leg. At first glance, it didn't seem serious, just routine precaution. But for Caitlin, who hadn't missed a single college game in 4 years, it was a subtle warning that this season might test her in ways she wasn't used to. After some rest, she returned swiftly, determined to make her mark. But then came late May. The Fever were in the middle of a tough stretch, and Clark was doing what she does best, carrying the team's momentum on her shoulders. That's when it happened. A left quadriceps strain during a hard-fought game against the New York Liberty. What looked like a typical hustle play turned into something more painful. Medical reports confirmed the injury, and just like that, Clark was forced to sit out multiple games, something unheard of in her playing history. Fans were stunned, teammates rallied, but Clark, she was crushed. For the first time, her physical limitations were making decisions for her. The break lasted around 2 weeks, during which Clark missed 5 critical regular season games. It wasn't just the physical pain that hurt. It was the emotional toll of watching from the sidelines, powerless to contribute. And as soon as she returned, just when it seemed like she was back in form, trouble found her again. This time, it was a groin strain. Subtle at first, but nagging. It crept in during late June, during practices and midweek games. The intensity of WNBA-level play was unforgiving, and her body, which had once felt invincible, was now worn down by repeated battles. She tried to push through, but trainers and coaching staff made the call: rest. Clark sat out several more games, and again, the conversation shifted, not about her talent, but about her health. The repeated setbacks weren't just frustrating, they were unfamiliar territory. This was a player who once thrived on back-to-back matchups, who embraced pressure. Now, each time she stepped onto the court, there was a silent fear in every jump, a second thought in every sprint. The crowd still roared, but behind Caitlin's intense focus was a storm of doubt. Could she continue pushing forward without pushing too far? Even more difficult was the mental challenge. Recovery wasn't just ice packs and physical therapy. It was sleepless nights, questioning if she was letting her team down. She opened up in interviews about the weight of expectations, the pressure to be the face of a franchise, and the strange loneliness of being injured while everyone else moved forward. Through it all, Clark remained determined. But the cracks were beginning to show. The 2025 season, once expected to be her full breakout campaign, had quickly become a delicate balancing act between performance and protection. And just as the buzz around her possible return from the groin injury was building, it happened again. But before diving into that emotional breakdown and the tears that followed, let's pause. Because now, the question is not just about Caitlin's body, but about the team behind her. What role did the Indiana Fever truly play in helping her heal? And more importantly, were they doing enough, or had they unknowingly pushed her too far? Stay tuned as we explore the effort of Indiana Fever on her recovery. Inside Caitlin Clark's urgent recovery mission. The scene of Caitlin Clark in visible pain wasn't just a gut punch to fans, it became an urgent call to action for the Indiana Fever. What followed wasn't panic, but precision. Almost immediately, the team pivoted from celebration to caution, outlining a clear and careful path forward. Clark's recovery is now the team's top priority, and they're treating it with the kind of care reserved for franchise-defining players. After the game, Coach Stephanie White didn't mince words. "We're shutting her down for now," she said. "We want her to be 100% before she steps back on the floor." This wasn't just coach speak, it was a shift in strategy. Clark has been the heart of the team's offense, the face of its resurgence, and the league's most visible rookie. Losing her, even temporarily, meant more than adjusting plays. It meant rethinking the team's rhythm entirely. Behind the scenes, Indiana's medical staff has ramped up efforts to support her. She's undergoing a detailed rehabilitation program focused on strengthening the groin area, reducing strain through targeted therapy, and avoiding anything that might cause another flare-up. It's not a rushed timetable. In fact, the team is willing to pull her from multiple games, or more, if that's what it takes to get her fully healed. Team insiders say every decision is now being weighed with her long-term future in mind. And while Clark recovers physically, there's also a clear emphasis on emotional and mental support. The Fever have brought in sports therapists to work alongside her, not just to manage the frustration of missing games, but to help her navigate the pressure of being under a nationwide spotlight. This isn't just an athletic injury, it's a psychological burden. She's gone from NCAA legend to WNBA superstar in the span of months, and now she's facing the one thing she couldn't out-dribble: injury-induced silence. It's why the Fever are coordinating not just her treatment, but her space. They've adjusted practice schedules, restricted media access, and built moments of quiet into her recovery window, giving her the freedom to breathe and heal on her own terms. One insider noted, "She's incredibly driven, but right now we want her to rest as hard as she works." The WNBA itself is closely monitoring her progress. Clark's appeal isn't just limited to Indiana. She's boosted ratings league-wide, turned sold-out arenas into the norm, and brought in a wave of new fans. With the All-Star Game scratched from her calendar, the league knows it must manage expectations. But it also understands that this moment could be a learning curve for everyone, especially when it comes to managing rising stars with relentless schedules. Some fans have even called for a broader discussion on workload. Clark's minutes have been heavy all season, and her competitive drive often pushes her beyond what's healthy. The Fever are now being extra cautious, reviewing past game footage, analyzing her movement patterns, and even consulting outside experts on injury prevention. This isn't just about bouncing back, it's about rethinking how to protect an athlete from burnout. In the meantime, her teammates are stepping up. Without their star guard, the Fever have leaned into collective play, using this moment to strengthen depth and chemistry. And while it's not easy to fill the void Clark leaves, it's given the roster a chance to grow in new ways that may benefit the team down the road, when Clark returns sharper and stronger than ever. All eyes now remain on the next update, the next press release, the next moment Caitlin Clark is seen without a limp. Because when she returns, it won't just be about how fast she can shoot or how well she can lead. It will be about what she's overcome. But that story starts in contrast to something many forget. Because not too long ago, Caitlin Clark was known for something very different. Earlier, career, perfect durability record. So, how did the iron-willed rookie who once never missed a game suddenly become so breakable? The deeper answer may shock you. Stay with us. Caitlin Clark's iron will before the injuries began. Before Caitlin Clark ever faced her first professional injury or sat out a game in the WNBA, she carried a reputation that went far beyond her scoring records. It was her unshakable durability, a rare, nearly flawless streak of physical resilience that set her apart long before the fame fully took hold. At the University of Iowa, Clark was more than just a basketball phenomenon. She was a machine. Over the course of 4 full college seasons, from 2020 to 2024, she started every single game. That's 139 consecutive matchups. No injuries, no sick days, no bench time for maintenance. In an era where top athletes are carefully rotated and rested to preserve their longevity, Clark showed up every single time, battling through tight schedules, back-to-back games, and defensive pressure that intensified with each passing year. Coaches marveled not only at her skill, but at how reliable she was. Clark never asked out of practice. She didn't shy away from contact. Her body, remarkably, seemed to hold up under conditions that would have sidelined most others. Her teammates leaned on her. Her fans expected her. And time again, she delivered, never limping, never lagging, always present. And it wasn't just college. Her WNBA rookie season in 2024 with the Indiana Fever followed the same pattern. She played in all 40 regular season games, logging some of the highest minutes in the league. Despite the intense transition from college to the pros, Clark didn't crack, not physically at least. The schedule was tougher, the travel more brutal, and the defenders stronger, yet Clark remained unbreakable. Even further back in high school, Clark only missed one game, due to a sprained ankle in 2017. She was just a teen, but even then, she hated the thought of sitting out. That early fire hinted at the relentless drive she would bring to every court thereafter. For years, Caitlin Clark seemed built differently, engineered for consistency, wired for war. But that perfect record would eventually meet its match. As her second WNBA season began, something changed. The unshakable became fragile, and suddenly, questions began to rise not just about her future, but about the pressure that had been quietly building all along. So, was Caitlin Clark's flawless rise a true gift, or the first sign of a quiet breakdown? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories that go beyond the spotlight.